it's the highest law of nature, that a self-preservation, and that is self-preservation, there is every reason founded in justice why the American producer should in every way be favored against a foreign producer whose products compete with his. This is our natural market. We have made it. We have made it at enormous cost, capital, and exertion. And think of this. And we did that through exertion and brain and muscle and guts and stamina. We preserved it against foreign wars and domestic conflicts at great sacrifice of men and women. The foreign producer has contributed nothing to the growth or development of this country. So if you want to share with the citizens of the United States our home market, then you must pay for the privilege of doing it. In other words, you have to pay for the privilege of coming into our country, taking our jobs, taking our product, destroying our countries. We mentioned North Carolina, the furniture business, what they've done to these great artisans. I used to go down to North Carolina all the time to buy furniture for hotels that I was building. And they had the most incredible artisans. That whole thing was wiped out by China mostly, but others. And just wiped out, but it's going to come back. It's going to come roaring back. It's all going to come roaring back. We're going to put tariffs on outside countries and outside people that really mean us harm. They want to, well, they mean us harm, but they basically want to make their country good. Look at what others do. China's a tremendous tariff maker, and India and Brazil and so many countries. And so we're not going to let that happen any longer, because we're going to put America first. Always put America first. That's what's going to happen. We're going to establish a very fair system where money is going to come into our coffers, and America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. Do you know the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887, and this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887, and what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary, because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money, and that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right? Under the American first economic model, as tariffs on other countries go up, taxes on American workers and businesses will come down, and massive numbers of jobs and factories will come home. The job creation will be enormous. In particular, if you look at the automobile sector, I mean, we're just being wiped out. You just take a look at what's happened to that over the years. And the auto workers voted for me. I have an obligation to do what's right, and I'm going to do that. Do you know in Mexico they were going to build the largest auto plant anywhere in the world? And it was during the campaign, my most recent campaign. And a very great gentleman, all he does is he builds auto plants. He was building this factory. And I said, how's it going? I said, I want to go around and take a look at one of your factories that you're building. One of the big ones, one of the good ones. I said, okay, are you ready? When are you going to do this? Is 9 months ago. He said, you'll have to go to Mexico. I said, what about the United States? He said, we're putting up a couple, but they're small. He's the biggest guy at doing this. He said, in Mexico, they're building massive automobile factories. I said, you mean they're doing it? And who's the owner of the factories? He said, mostly China. One in particular is massive, and it's built fairly close to the border. So they were going to build cars and send them into the United States for no tax or very little tax, and destroy Detroit, just destroy the rest of it, what's left of it. Because they've already Mexico's taken 32% of our business over 30 years. And the other one is Canada. Canada's taken massive amounts of, they send us millions of cars. We don't need them for that. We want to have the cars made in Detroit or South Carolina or many other locations, whether it's union or not union. But I said to him, I said, so when is this plant going to open? He said, well, we're going to start it in a couple of months, and it'll be open in about a year and a half. It's the largest plant in the world. I said, I'm not happy with that. And I said in my next speech that I am going to charge them if it takes 100% or 200%. No car is coming in from Mexico into the United States without a massive tariff. And I said it 3 or 4 times. And what happened is about 2 months later, I see that same gentleman who was in the audience, and I said, I want to see him backstage after I'm finished with the speech. And I met him backstage. And I said, John, let me ask you, what happened with that plant? Where is it now? He said, sir, China's canceled it. Why? Because they think you're going to be elected, and they thought you were going to charge big tariffs on the cars coming in, and it doesn't work if you're going to charge. So they canceled the plant, and Detroit now will breathe, and we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to have these companies come in, and they can build that plant if they want, but they have to build it across the line. They have to build it in the United States. Amazing. Amazing. We did so many things, and we weren't even elected yet. That would have been a disaster. If that plant were built, it would have been a disaster. That would have wiped out. That was bigger than most of the factories put together, the auto plants put together. In particular, in the very near future, we're going to be placing tariffs on foreign production of computer chips, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals to return production of these essential goods to the United States of America. They left us and they went to Taiwan, which is about 98% of the chip business, by the way. And we want them to come back, and we don't want to give them billions of dollars like this ridiculous program that Biden has. Give everybody billions of dollars. They already have billions of dollars. They've got nothing but money, Joe. They didn't need money. They needed an incentive, and the incentive is going to be they're not going to want to pay a 25, 50, or even 100% tax. They're going to build their factory with their own money. We don't have to give them money. They're going to come in because it's good for them to come in. They're giving them money. They don't even know what they're going to do with it. I had people tell me, we have no idea. We didn't need money. They don't know if they're probably going to use the money to build in other places, other countries. It's a ridiculous plan, very expensive and ridiculous. The only way you'll get out of this is to build your plant. If you want to stop paying the taxes or the tariffs, you have to build your plant right here in America. That's what's going to happen at record levels. We're going to have more plants built in the next short period of time than anybody ever envisioned before, because the incentive is going to be there, because they have no tariff whatsoever. In fact, they have help from us if they build their plant in America. And we're going to look at pharmaceuticals, drugs. We're going to look at chips, semiconductors, and we're going to look at steel and some other industries. And you're going to see things happening. If I didn't put on the massive steel tariffs, you wouldn't have one steel plant right now in the United States. If I didn't put on the tariffs on washing machines, dryers, and the like, you wouldn't, in Ohio, you would have lost all of those companies that made washing machines and dryers. Jim Jordan is the one that got me started. Was Jim here by any chance? Is Jim here? Where is Jim? Where's Jim? Oh, look at him. Wow. That's not a great seat for a man of such power. Do you know that Jim has he's a great wrestler. He was All-American wrestler 3 times, 128 and 1. That's not a bad record, and that's the way he fights too. But he has a better record. Undefeated as a wrestler in high school. And I say, how can you do that? Because a freshman can't beat a senior. But he figured out how to beat seniors. So I stand up again, Jim. Let's give you a hand as a wrestler. As a wrestler, big hand. As a politician, very good. But Jim, is it true that we went up there, remember we had 25,000 people standing in the streets in this little beautiful town with Whirlpool, right? And they were going to close up their factories because South Korea was dumping washing machines and other things like that, and they were dumping. And we put a 50% tariff, and then 75, even 100%, and now they're thriving, right? Without Trump, they would have been closed up. But Jim was the one that got me involved. Are you guys all happy with Jim? Do you like him? Because I like him. I like him, right? We like Jim. What's not to like? He gets on television, he's like a wrestler. He's got this boom, 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 boom. Very impressive, Jim. Anyway, it's good to see you. I like that guy a lot. I like a lot of the people in the audience a lot. I like the people in this room. We have the same basic philosophy. We have the same thoughts. What's not to like? But I'll also be placing tariffs on steel, aluminum, and copper, and things that we need for our military. We have to bring production back to our country. You know, there was a time when we made one ship. We're going to environmentally free up our rare earth minerals. We have some unbelievable sites. We have some of the best rare earth anywhere in the world, but we're not allowed to use it because the environmentalists got there first. They said, you cannot touch that land. I look at the land, looks like every other piece of land. What is it? Well, this is very protected. They have no idea what they're doing to our country. They use the environment to stop progress, so we're not going to let that happen. We have Lee Zeldin. I don't know if Lee's here today, but Lee Zeldin is going to be fantastic. He's going to head up the whole environmental. And I said, Lee, if we have we put in for a power plant, and if we don't get the approval, like that you can start within 12 days, one day would be even better, but 12 days, 14 days, see what you can do. And Lee's great. Lee knows what's good and he knows what's bad, and he'll be very fair, but we have to get it moving because some of these jobs, like the ones in Louisiana, they were 14, 15 years, they couldn't get their approvals. We can't let that happen. When people come here with massive amounts of money, they want to start, they want to go, and we know what's good and we know what's bad too. And Lee Zeldin's going to do a great job environmentally. As we fix our tax system, we could also cut colossal amounts of government waste, fraud, and abuse, of which there's a lot. But tonight, I restate my pledge from the campaign. I will not sign any bill that cuts even a single penny from Medicare or Social Security for our great seniors. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. We'll not touch those benefits in any way, shape, or form. I want to use that because during the campaign, they had these fake ads that Trump is going to cut Social Security. No, they're the ones that are going to cut it because the country's going to go bankrupt under them. And that's why it's going to cut, because they're not going to have a choice. Not that they're saying we're going to cut it, but our country was heading for absolute bankruptcy. Using reconciliation, I also look forward to working with you to make our energy policies permanent and making our historic deregulation efforts a fixture of U.S. law so that no future president, like they did with Anwar, I got Anwar approved. Nobody could do it, including Ronald Reagan in Alaska. It's the largest site, potentially the largest site in the world, larger than Saudi Arabia. And I got it done. Ronald Reagan couldn't get it. Nobody could get it done. They tried, but they couldn't get it done. I got it done. And the first thing they did was end Anwar in Alaska. The biggest, most powerful site maybe anywhere in the world, and we got it done, and we're going to get it done again very quickly. Now, I think I do it with an executive order because they didn't go through Congress. I got it approved through Congress. So I think we get it done fast. But it's going to be, that can supply all of Asia with its location. All of Asia can be supplied by Anwar. So there's so many things, but we don't want to have any future president ever sabotage our economy with out-of-control regulations as the last two Democrat presidents have done. They went crazy. Last week, I signed an order revoking Joe Biden's destructive artificial intelligence regulations so that AI companies can once again focus on being the best, not just being the most woke. And today and over the last couple of days, I've been reading about China and some of the companies in China, one in particular, coming up with a faster method of AI and much less expensive method. And that's good because you don't have to spend this much money. I view that as a positive, as an asset. So I really think if it's fact and if it's true, and nobody really knows if it is, but I view that as a positive because you'll be doing that too, so you won't be spending as much and you'll get the same result, hopefully. The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser focused on competing to win because we have the greatest scientists in the world. Even Chinese leadership told me that. They said, you have the most brilliant scientists in the world in Seattle and various places, but Silicon Valley, they said, there's nobody like those people. This is very unusual when you hear a DeepSeek, when you hear somebody come up with something. We always have the ideas. We're always first. So I would say that's a positive. That could be very much a positive development. So instead of spending billions and billions, you'll spend less and you'll come up with, hopefully, the same solution. Under the Trump administration, we're going to unleash our tech companies and we're going to dominate the future like never before. And finally, we need to work together on a defense bill that once again fully rebuilds our military for our great warriors. We have to have a strong, strong defense. And in a little while, I'll be signing 4 new executive orders. First is that I'm directing our new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who's going to be great, by the way. Thank you for the support. Thank you very much for the support. You really did support him greatly. I think he's going to be fantastic. I know him very well. I think he's going to be fantastic. He's what we need to immediately begin the construction of a state-of-the-art Iron Dome missile defense shield, which will be able to protect Americans. You know, we protect other countries, but we don't protect ourselves. And when Ronald Reagan wanted to do it many years ago, luckily we didn't. We didn't have the technology then. It was a concept, but we didn't. And now we have phenomenal technology. You see that with Israel, where out of 319 rockets, they knocked down just about every one of them. So I think the United States is entitled to that, and everything will be made right here in the USA, 100%. And next, to ensure that we have the most lethal fighting force in the world, we will get transgender ideology the hell out of our military. It's going to be gone. In addition, we will stop our service members from being indoctrinated with radical left ideologies such as critical race theory. We're going to stop it. It's already been stopped. It's already been halted, totally halted. And finally, we will offer full reinstatement to any service member who was expelled from the armed forces due to the COVID vaccine mandate. And we will restore them to their former rank with full pay. And I think we're going to have a lot of people that join. And one thing I'll say, if you looked at our recruitment over the last week or so, 2 weeks, it's through the roof. You know, we were having a lot of people weren't signing. We were having a hard time recruiting people because they were looking at these people that they were supposed to be their leaders, and they weren't happy. They didn't like people that fall going upstairs. If you're going to fall, at least go downstairs from the plane. That triple fall. I use that thing in more ads. I didn't have an ad where I didn't put that in. Just a little quick 1, 2, 3. Reminded me of Joe Frazier when he went down, right? George Foreman, Joe Frazier. 3 falls in a matter of seconds. I said, can you speed it up a little bit? People are getting tired of it. But no, we have now the best recruitment we've seen in a long time. There's a tremendous number of people wanting to sign up. January 20th, 2025 was a turning point in American history. Starting last week, we're ending years of incompetence, radicalism, and betrayal. And we're ushering in the most exhilarating era of reform and renewal in the 250-year history of our country. And just in conclusion, I just want to say that this has been a very exciting and will be a very exciting new chapter. There's nothing we cannot achieve as long as the Republican Party remains united. I hope you can remain united. And it's one thing I give the Democrats a lot of credit for because, you know, they have lousy policy. I think, frankly, half of them are totally crazy. But they do stick together. They stick together on stuff that nobody can. I mean, how can you want prisons emptied out into our country? They stick together. They stick together on everything. Impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2. They stick together. Although I must tell you, you gave me great support during those 2 problems. Those 2 fake witch hunts, which have now turned out to be totally fake and disgusting. But you gave me tremendous support. But the Republican Party has to stick together. We just can't have people going, 1, 2, 3 votes. And we don't have that luxury. It would be different if we had a 20-point, 30-person majority, but we don't. We have to help leadership. And you can be assured that you have certain philosophies, that if you're going to have most of the people, almost all of them, voting for something, you're going to be okay. It's not going to be bad. You have to stick together. It's the one thing that I would say we don't get very high marks. Everything is so hard. We always have 2 or 3 or 5 or something, people that just don't want to do it. And you just got to do it. You just got to do it. Make life easy. Just got to do it. So right now we have a very special period because we have the House, we have the Senate, and we have the White House. And we're a team, and we're a really good team. And I appreciate so many times, and like even with Mike, I called 3 or 4 people, and they said, okay, sir, I'll do it. I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote positively. And they're very happy they did now. But when I called, we've gotten such a great response. We just had that happen with Pete Hegseth, and we have it happening with others. But we really appreciate it with the House. The House has been, it's a very difficult situation when you have that small a majority, but in a certain way it brings you together. It actually can unify more than anybody would ever know. And a victory is sweeter, as they say, because of it. And I think we're going to have a lot of victories, but we have to stick together, we have to work together, we have to fight together, and we're going to win together. We're going to win like never before. We have a chance to win like never before. As long as we stay united, the 119th Congress will be remembered as the most successful and accomplished Republican majority in American history. I believe that. I think we have a chance of doing it. Right? And in January 2027, we will have a larger Republican House, a larger Republican Senate, and our country will be richer, safer, stronger, prouder, greater, freer, and ever before. I really think that we're going to have some big victories coming up, and I'm going to be helping every single one of you. I'm raising a lot of money, and I want to use it for the House, and I want to use it for the Senate. I've raised a lot of money, and I told my people, we raised $1.7 billion. They raised $2.6 billion. They have the unions with, checkoffs, which is always tough, $10 a month times millions and millions of people. And then we won, and we won by a lot. And they wanted to go out, and they still haven't raised it. They're trying to raise $28 million. They cannot raise 10 cents. It's good to win, I will tell you. It's really good to win, but they can't raise money. But I told my people the morning after. Now, normally, because we have so many donors here and so many people that I love and respect, a lot of great friends of mine, but I told my people, Meredith and Susie, by the way, how good is Susie? The Ice Maiden. Where is the Ice Maiden? She is so great. She is so good. Stand up, Susie. The Ice Maiden, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, look at that. Most powerful woman in the world, they say. Most powerful woman in the world. She's made of ice. She's great. No, when I came to Florida, Florida was a Democrat state. Had a Democrat governor. They had one Democrat senator. It was largely a Democrat state. And through various reasons, I ended up with Susie running the campaign, and she was unbelievable. We won it in a landslide. And then the second time, we won it in an even bigger landslide. And when it came time to choosing somebody to run the campaign, the whole campaign, I said, what about Susie from Florida? She never lost. I won every primary. I won every. I didn't lose anything. And it was a Democrat state. And it was a landslide both times. And all of the Republican stuff was almost like it didn't even exist. It was amazing. I said, what about Susie? Well, sir, a woman has never been in this position before. I said, really? Oh, by the way, we have Kellyanne Conway. She didn't do too badly either, right? She did a great job, 2016. And when it came time to chief of staff, do you know that there has never been a woman chief of staff? But there is now. There is now, right? I didn't know that. I'm so surprised. I'm very surprised. But it came time to running the campaign, and I said, well, I've never had a loss with Susie. She comes from great stock, Pat Summerall is her father. Pat Summerall was a football player, great football player, but a really great announcer, really the voice of the NFL for 27 years or something. He was great, and a leader. He worked with John Madden, and he was able to get John Madden to do things that nobody else could do. They'd say, Pat, John is really difficult. Now, John was a difficult guy, but he got big ratings, and he was good. And Pat would go up, come on, John, let's get this done. Come on. I know you don't like the heads of the company. They're paying you a lot of money. Come on, John, let's get it done. And he'd go and do it. And this went on for, 27 years, right? But he was a leader, her father. And, this is somebody that has the gene. I'll tell you, she's great. And she's done a fantastic job. So she was so good with the campaign. I said, let's let her do the campaign. And it was flawless. And again, I said before, we had her win a lot of votes because it's crooked as hell. And I hope you can go to voter ID and same-day voting and paper ballots and all of those things, because ultimately we'll never lose a race if you do that. I'm telling you, you'll never lose a race. And I hope you can get that. And that's said to the governors mostly, but you people have a lot of power over it. But Susie ran the race, and we did phenomenally, and then we just made her the chief of staff, and she's doing great. They say it was the greatest week, opening week, in presidential history, and I think, couldn't be a hell of a lot better. Even CNN is saying, this guy is amazing. I couldn't believe it. I said, did CNN really say that? Because nobody watches, so nobody was able to confirm it. But it was pretty amazing. Oh, the camera just went off. It's always tough. Usually you get them by surprise. But I just want to thank everybody. We're going to make this tremendously successful. I believe we're going to have one of the greatest 4 years in the history of our country. We're going to turn it around quickly, and then we're going to go on and we're going to progress like nobody ever thought possible. And I want to thank these great 4 people because they really are leaders and they're phenomenal people. And I want to thank all of my friends in the audience, many of whom are congressmen and congresswomen and people that have just tremendous talent. Every single one of you, I know every one of you, and you have tremendous talent. And if we stick and if we fight together, there's nobody can stop us. We're going to have, because they have bad policy. Their policy is so bad. Nobody could win with this policy. Nobody. And we have the best policy. And again, as they say, and we say, and I've been saying for a long time, we're the party of common sense. And we're the party that's going to have the best 4 years ever. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Congratulate, this is a very big congratulations to our re-elected House Republican majority on your largest popular vote. Did you know that since 1928? That's a long time, Mike, right? That's a long time. But I especially want to thank our outstanding leadership team. Speaker Mike Johnson, we all know so well. He's doing great. Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who's gone through so much. And he looks better today than he did 10 years ago. I don't know what's going on. Thank you very much, Steve. You look great. Majority Whip Tom Emmer. Tom, thank you. Great job. And House Conference Chair Lisa McLean. Lisa, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Great job. Thanks as well to all of the incredible House members and staff for your tireless work on behalf of our country, along with Congressional Institute CEO Kelly Strickland. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you very much. So we have Kellyanne Conway. Nobody knows Kellyanne. Does anybody know? Where's Kellyanne? She's around. What? She's so good. She's a good person, too. She's a good person, too. And the mayor of Hialeah, I love this guy because he said, sir, we want to name a major boulevard after you. And he did it. Anybody that names a boulevard after me, I like him a lot. Esteban Bovo and Hialeah, mayor of Hialeah, thank you, wherever you may be. Esteban, where are you? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great honor, actually. A lot of people come back from Hialeah. They say, they just named a road after you. I said, that's okay. It's a beginning, right? It's a start. With the help of everyone in this room, we've just won the most epic, consequential political victory in American history, according to a lot. One of the major fake newspapers, so in this case it's not fake news, let's say, but they said it's the most consequential election victory in the last 129 years. I'm trying to figure out what that means, 120. Who was there 129 years ago? But it was a great one. At the presidential level, we won the popular vote for the first time of any Republican in decades. We swept all 7 swing states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada by very, very big margins, record-setting. And for the first time ever, all 50 states, did you know this? Shifted toward the Republican Party. We've never had that before. Nobody has, actually. It's never happened before. That's pretty good. You must be doing a good job, fellas. We won the largest number of African-American voters in Republican history, including 39% of black men, a record by a lot. So that's really nice. Thank you. And we won more Hispanic-American votes than any Republican ever. It's never won any, not even close. Look at that, Hispanic-American. We made historic strides with youth, men, women, urban, suburban, and rural voters. And in a political earthquake, yeah, sit down, just enjoy it. What the hell, we're going to be here for a little while. But in a political earthquake, we won a wave of support from labor unions, including massive numbers of auto workers, which gave us Michigan as an example. Think of that. We won Michigan easily, and we did tremendous with the auto workers. And an overwhelming majority of the rank and file membership of the Teamsters. The Teamsters were great. They showed up in droves, and we won them by a lot. Together, we're forging a new political majority that's shattering and replacing Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal coalition, which dominated American politics for over 100 years. That's what we're doing. And what Mike said before, common sense. It is a little bit of common sense. Maybe it's a lot of common sense. Under our leadership, the Republican Party has become the proud voice of hardworking American citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. We've become the party of the American dream and wealth creation for everyone, not just the rich. If we do our job over the next 21 months, not only will House Republicans be reelected and expand our majority in 2026, we will cement a national governing coalition that will preserve American freedom for generations to come. There has never been anything like what's happened in politics in the last few years. Never been anything like it. Everybody, people of religion, everybody seems to be with us. I don't know how anybody could even vote for the other side. In many cases, they don't, but they do get credit for it. You'll have to think about that. I've raised a lot of money for the next race that I assume I can't use for myself, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know. I think I'm not allowed to run again. I'm not sure. Am I allowed to run again, Mike? I better not get you involved in that argument. No, we raised a lot of money, a tremendous amount, and our teletown halls are something that's very special that nobody else is able to even contemplate using. We've gotten a lot of people elected with those teletown halls. We have 25, 30,000 people on just in a congressional area. They win easy. It works for Elvis, the Beatles, and it doesn't work for anyone else, but it works for Trump. And we would have tremendous crowds on those calls, and I think I'll bet we got 35, 40 people elected because of the town halls. But I did say to them, and I said, this is the greatest, the person that sort of has the rights to it, and he happens to be a great Republican. I said, this is the greatest invention. This thing is going to make a fortune. He said, no, it's not that good, actually, because it only works for you. He said, actually, sir, it only works for you because somebody else they're not picking up, so I'm honored to have that privilege, and I used it carefully, but we've done a lot of the teletown halls for people, and I don't think we've ever lost one, right? It's hard to lose one, even if you only get 5,000 or 6,000 people on a congressional race, but we've done them for states, we've done them for governors, and we've done them for senators, and we did a couple countrywide. I did a couple for myself countrywide. They're absolutely amazing, and we got the message out through that and lots of other means. We even got it out through TikTok. Has anyone ever heard of TikTok? I have a little bias toward TikTok right now, I have to tell you. So we won youth by the largest margin, no Republican. We generally don't win youth. We won by 36 points. Can you imagine that? And I think TikTok had something to do. So pardon me if I'm a little bit, I became a little bit jaded toward TikTok, but we'll see what happens. We're going to have a lot of people bidding on it. And if we can save all that voice and all the jobs, and China won't be involved. You don't want China involved, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But over the past 7 days, my administration has been moving with urgency and historic speed to reverse every single disaster of the Biden administration. By the way, the guy was a disaster, okay? We want to be nice, and he's probably not listening right now because it's a little late, but I don't want him to listen. I don't want to say it. I feel badly. I was, making the inauguration speech, and I'm saying all the bad things, and he's sitting like right here. I'm saying they were a horrible administration. They didn't know what they were doing. They were grossly incompetent. I got a guy sitting right next to me. It's not that easy to do, even though he didn't understand what I was saying. He really did. And deliver on the mandate that we've been given by the American people. In a single week, I've taken over 350 executive actions. We've signed 300, and who ever heard of that one? And as I said in my inaugural address, the American decline is over. It's over. The golden age of America has officially begun, and I think that's a good thing for us to talk about, the golden age and the American dream. I think it's a good thing because people haven't been talking that way for a long period of time. On day one, I directed every member of my cabinet to marshal all powers at their disposal to defeat inflation and bring down the cost of daily life, and we're going to do that. You're going to see it starting to happen when we get going with the energy. The energy is going to, brought everything up. It's going to bring everything down. I imposed a federal hiring freeze, a federal regulation freeze, a foreign aid freeze. A foreign aid freeze, isn't that nice? We get tired of giving massive amounts of money to countries that hate us, don't we? And I created the new Department of Government Efficiency, and I think it's going to be very meaningful. I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Scam, one of the great scams in history. Actually, isn't it 12 years up? They gave us 12 years to live, right? I think that we passed it, right? We're still around. Can you believe it? The person that really came up with it is a person that never even took a course on the environment, was a poor student, not a good student, didn't understand a lot, and she came up with this idea, and everybody all of a sudden started going. And then mainstream, important Democrat leaders were starting, they got sucked into it. And we've spent trillions of dollars on just like throwing it out the window. You could throw it out the window, you would have been better off. I withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord, and I canceled. It was so one-sided, we had obligations, but Russia didn't, China didn't, other countries didn't. We paid everything. We're going to lose $1 trillion over a short period of time on that. And we had to do everything. They didn't have to do anything. It was ridiculous. And I canceled the insane and very costly electric vehicle mandate. So you can buy a car of your choice. If you like gasoline, go have it. And if you like hybrids are doing well. You can have it, or you can buy an electric car. We like everything, but you have to have a right to buy everything. I withdrew from the World Health Organization, where we paid $500 million a year, and China paid just $39 million a year, despite a much larger population. How about that? So we're paying $500 million a year. China's paying $39 million a year. They have 1.4 billion people. We have, nobody knows what we have. So many people came across the border, nobody has any idea. I used to say like 325, but we really don't know. But we're going to know soon. We're going to know. And I tell you, our people are doing Tom Homan and his staff are doing an incredible job getting the bad ones out. I declared a national energy emergency to unlock the liquid gold that's right under our feet, because we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. It's going to bring down prices. And your energy costs are going to go way down, and that'll happen, I think, relatively quickly. I'm going to give fast environmental approval for anybody building a plant for electric generation, and anybody that invests more than $1 billion will get super rapid approval. Not that they have to wait for 9 years, 14 years, like I approved LNG plants in Louisiana. They were waiting for so many years. It wasn't Louisiana's fault. It was some people, they just wouldn't get them done. You've got a snail here, a tiny tree here, and I got it done in a matter of a few days. I actually got it done. It took them 14 years. I got it done in about 3 days. The people, as we called them, I'll never forget, I called them and I said, congratulations, you got your permit. What? They were so shell-shocked. They didn't know what the hell was happening. They're going to spend, and they spent about $16 billion on each plant, and they've been roaring since then. But we got them done in a matter of a few days. Over the past week, we've begun the largest deregulation campaign in history, far exceeding even the record-setting efforts in my first term. That was record-setting deregulation, and that was just as big as tax cuts as far as business and jobs were concerned, I'll tell you. I actually asked, it's interesting because I actually asked some of the biggest businessmen in the country, I said, let me ask you, if you had the choice between the big tax cuts, we cut it from 40% to 21%. We're going to cut it further, but we cut it down to 20. Everybody said that would be impossible. The people on the stage helped us with that one a lot. But I said, if you had your choice of that or the big deregulation cuts, what would you take? These are the guys that run the big companies, the big oil companies, the big companies of every kind. I said, would you take the big tax cut or the big cut in regulations? And I've never had anybody said they'll take the tax cut. They took the regulation cut. I'll bet I asked that question 100 times to 100 of the biggest people. They always said, sir, we'll take the regulation cut. You opened us up. You let us create all these jobs that we've all seen happen. So it was even bigger than the big tax cut. I also signed an order to end the weaponization of our government against the American people and investigate all abuses of power. And I stopped government censorship once and for all, and we brought back free speech to America. That's what happened. We're going to bring it back. Because we didn't have free speech. We didn't have free speech. I mean, I was investigated more than any human being in history. Alphonse Capone was a baby. Now, this was a serious killer, Scarface. You've all heard of Scarface. He had a scar for a reason. He didn't play games, but he was Scarface. Of course, nobody ever called him Scarface to his face. They said, Al, you look great today. Guy had a scar that was like 2 inches thick that ran from here to here. And they say, Al, you look fantastic. But Scarface was not investigated as much as your president was investigated. And it turned out to be a positive thing for me. Can you believe it? It turned out to be, we got a lot of votes. I did that in 1 week. And it wasn't that easy, but everybody wanted it. People that were strongly in favor of it, I thought, called me and said, thank God you got rid of that. That was so bad. It was so bad we hated it. We abolished 60 years of prejudice and hatred with the signing of one order, all approved by the Supreme Court of the United States. It was a big thing, and the United States has become a meritocracy again. We are a country that's based now on merit for success, merit. If you're good at what you do, you're going to go places. I made it and who would have thought that was going to happen? We didn't even talk about that one because I figured that one was going to be toughest to get. And so we are now, if you do a meritorious job, if you do something where you're just outstanding, you advance. And that's what it's about. It's about competition, and it's about a lot of things. And the other becomes a very dangerous plateau. We were on that plateau too long, and it's one of the reasons that you saw very bad things happening with our country. I made it the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female. Gee, that was a tough one. That was a tough one. Some of these people say like 7 genders. I'm trying to say, go and name them. They got some weird stuff going on. No, we have 2 genders. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, and we are restoring the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley in Alaska in honor of the incredible people of the state of Ohio who loved their governor and loved the man that became president. He was the big tariff sheriff, they used to call him, and made a lot of money. Our country became very rich, and when he was assassinated, Teddy Roosevelt became president, and he spent all of that money that was made from tariffs. The money was so enormous, and they built the thing called the Panama Canal. You might have read about this lately. It's become a hot subject because China essentially has taken it over, and we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that happen. It was the biggest investment to this day ever made by the country. In other words, if you bring it up to modern day numbers, we spent money that we've never spent anything so much. We've never had so many people die. 38,000 people died building the Panama Canal 110 years ago. And they gave it away for $1. It's also one of the most profitable things ever built. You know, these ships are lined up back to Florida trying to get through. We're not gonna let that happen. Wasn't the deal. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, sort of, I guess. But they haven't behaved properly. Perhaps most importantly, I declared a national emergency to stop the invasion of our southern border. We're going to stop that invasion. We've already done it. And today in Tijuana, you probably saw I got a call from Tom Homan and some of the people. They said, sir, it's unbelievable. There is nobody. You have this huge area. It's a gathering area. It's always been packed with these people. What they did to our country is so unbelievable. That they could do this to our country is so horrible. But he said there's nobody there. And then they actually put it on television. I got to see it. And there was literally not one person, this vast area where people stay there all day long and they just walk right into our country. They just unchecked, no way, no checking for ideas like voter ID. They don't want voter ID because they want to cheat. they wanted these people to come in because they want to cheat too. But who could allow this to happen? But there wasn't one person standing in this massive an area that's like 5 football fields that was packed for years under these horrible people that wanted to kill our country. We halted all illegal entry. We have successfully ended catch and release, and we're deporting 100% of all new trespassers apprehended at the border, and nobody's coming in, and nobody's coming now because they know they're not going to be able to come in. So we really stopped something that was very, very serious. But we have to get the bad ones out. We have many murderers, many very bad people in our country that they've allowed because of a ridiculous, actually stupid, open border policy. I've also deployed troops to the border, and for the first time in history, we're locating and loading illegal aliens into military aircraft and flying them back to the places from which they came. And very importantly, America is respected again. We're respected again. Isn't that nice? You know, after years of laughing at us like we're stupid people. And as you saw yesterday, we've made it clear to every country that they will be taking back our